Rwanda, Dabakunda. Dabakunda.
A curious question: why did you choose to be a vegetarian? Because were you born vegetarian or you?
No, I wasn't.
How did you choose to be vegetarian?
So in kindergarten, the two first friends that I made, their families were both vegetarian.
Nearly a quarter of the population has not explored other countries. Do you believe that?
I do. I think it really depends on how you grow up. I grew up on the coast. I grew up in California. It's extremely diverse. I had many friends from Latin America telling me my home country is like this, we did this, and I got curious.
Right.
I was like, I want to see, I want to go, I want to know about that, you know? So, because yeah, friends could just come over at any time, day or night, and they don't necessarily call you, they just show up.
Oh, so they just come.
They just come all the time.
But that can't happen in America.
No, that would be rude.
Why?
We're very scheduled. You know, we make plans and we stick to the plans. We set a time and we're precise about that time.
Hello, my friends, followers, and subscribers. Today it's a special edition. I have a special guest who is an American. As you know, I'm an immigrant. I came from Africa and I always like to learn about American culture, about people, about what's going on in America, especially when people visiting some places. So today I have a special guest. I would like her to introduce herself to the audience.
I'm Shayna Breslin. I live in South Bend.
And especially I met you because you were also a journalist, and I was impressed to find someone who was a journalist. How was being a journalist in America? Is it hard?
I loved it. I loved it. I think the hard part is you don't get paid very much. It's a very low paying job, but it's always interesting. You know, every day you do something different. You don't have a routine. You don't clock in and clock off. You know, you kind of have your day. You plan it out how you want to. You set up your appointments. You might meet the president tomorrow and a homeless guy the next day. And, you know everybody and you know all the organizations in the community. And you get to know your community fast.
Yeah. So how long have you been a journalist?
I did that for, I would say, counting school, because I went to school for it, probably like 14 years.
14 years.
Yeah.
So did you like it?
Yeah.
Okay.
But our papers in 2008 and 9, almost all the papers in the country cut staff, and that's when I got cut. So, and there wasn't anything open. So, yeah.
Any big story you still remember that was me or?
Let's see. I think I'm like a long-term project person, really. That's my favorite thing to do, is work with someone and keep coming back and getting like a deeper and richer understanding of their life. So we won an award for a story that we did about 10 different children that have autism that are all over the spectrum. So we spent almost a year photographing a 4-year-old all the way up to a 20-year-old. And there are different levels of capability, and it was like a commission on disabilities that gave us the award because they thought we presented them respectfully. So I was pretty happy with that.
Okay, that's good. Can I teach you one word in Kinyarwanda?
Yeah.
So when you say gukunda means to love. So if you can say Rwanda ndabakunda. Ndabakunda means I love you.
Ah.
Rwandans.
Dabakunda.
Ndabakunda.
Dabakunda.
Okay, can you say Rwanda ndabakunda?
Rwanda Dabakunda. It's a challenge.
Yeah. How does it sound? Does it sound like Japanese or?
No. It has like a nice softness to it, I would say. And I love languages, so I just speak two, but every time I travel, I study a little bit of that language before I go. So, and Africa's on my list for sure.
Okay.
Yeah. I'd love to see more. Morocco is not what you traditionally picture when you say Africa. You think of like safari.
Right.
So I visited Morocco, but it's not really like exemplary of, I think, most of the culture. I think it's probably quite different.
Yeah. If you visit Africa, I would suggest Rwanda because it's my country, but it's also the safest country. It's they say the city is the greenest city in Africa.
Wow.
Yeah, the fastest growing economy in Africa. But also Zanzibar. Zanzibar, it's a nice place with the Indian Ocean.
Ooh.
It's really nice. It's a paradise on earth.
I'm a beach person. I love to
Oh,
swim
yeah.
in the ocean. I love to kayak. I love to snorkel. So
Yeah,
I
it's
love
pretty.
the ocean.
Yeah.
Makuru, no Herian Caesar.
Amakuru.
Amazing.
I was born and raised in Africa. Please consider subscribing to our YouTube channel so you can see the impressive stories I come across and I see every day when I drive around. Subscribing will help me to grow.
Maraho. Amakuru.
And you like to travel, and that's what I want to talk to you about today. Last time you went to Colombia, I spent the holidays there.
Yeah.
Tell me, how was it when you get there after, like when you landed? Tell me about it.
Luckily, the Bogota airport isn't too big. And the international flights only have one exit. So my friend wasn't able to pick me up, so he sent the neighbor. So he sent me a picture of her, and I was like, okay, this is going to be hard. But since there's only one international door, they saw me right away, and it was easy. Her brother was a taxi driver. We drove through Bogota. It's a huge city. I think it's officially 9 million, but they think there's more like 11 million with like unaddressed housing, like little shacks and sheds and things that people have built without any official city permission. So they think it could be up to 12 million with all those neighborhoods included. So
Yeah, so here they say like Colombia's airports handle over 40 million passengers annually, with Bogota's El Dorado International being one of the busiest in Latin America.
yeah,
Could you experience that?
it's
Did you
pretty
see
well
that?
organized. I think the only time I noticed it was baggage claim. It went on forever. Like you're just going past another one and another one, you know, the little, I don't know, the bins. But coming into international, I came in pretty late at night. So it wasn't packed with people.
So they say in Colombia, Christmas and New Year are hugely important, with approximately 90% of Colombians celebrating these holidays with their families. The US also celebrate, but it's more commercialized and less focused on family gatherings. So how did you experience the Christmas and New Year in the Colombia as an American experiencing the other culture?
Well, Christmas in Colombia is very different than any Christmas that I ever had in my own culture. Over here, what my family did was Christmas Eve, we would have dinner together, go to bed at the normal time. We'd get up kind of early in the morning, and then the family would all come over from different parts of town, and we'd open presents and go for a walk on the beach, since I wasn't in a winter state where I grew up. In Colombia, they make dinner at about 11 o'clock at night. They are still buying presents and food up until like 10 o'clock at night on Christmas Eve. I was running around with some of the neighbors gathering up from like the little open markets. Like you have your fruit markets and your meat markets and your bread markets. So we were going to all of them to make this big dinner. I was helping. And so 11 we eat, and at 12 they open their presents, and at midnight fireworks everywhere, all over the city. Like we went up on the roof and you could just see them every direction you looked. There were fireworks going up into the sky. And that's really when the party starts, right after midnight. Most of us on Christmas would eat a big meal, be sleepy, go to bed early. But no, once Christmas starts over there, the last I was awake was about 3:30 in the morning. We had a huge meal. The neighbors came over and brought us food. We brought like beers to someone's house, and people just kind of kept coming through the house and visiting. All the neighbors visited each other, and the families were all gathering kind of in their, they don't really have front yards. It's more like, I guess just like the front facing of their homes. There's a little sidewalk, and they would be gathered on the sidewalk, playing loud music with speakers, sitting out on the street and drinking and dancing a lot. I mean, they were dancing until like 3 in the morning, and they never seemed to get tired.
So Americans don't dance loud music?
Maybe when we're in college, you know, we go to clubs with our friends in the college years or in our 20s. But I don't think Americans do much dancing after that, unless they take like ballroom dancing classes or they get into something like salsa or Western. There's some folk dancing that people do, but I don't think it's very mainstream to dance in America.
Okay. And how did you pick Colombia, and where did you stay?
I picked Colombia because I have a good friend there. He was living in Michigan when I met him. And I wanted to show him this country. So we traveled to several big cities, including New York, so he could see that. And then he said, you know, you need to come and visit me in my city and I'll show you my country. So I said, okay. And he lives in Bogota. He's lived there all his life. The neighborhoods have, they're numbered by like class and financial socioeconomic status. So it goes from 0 to 6. So his neighborhood is a 2. With the 3 jobs that he has, he's really upper middle class now. But that's his neighborhood, that's where he grew up, that's where he wants to be. He could move into a higher level if he wanted to, but he doesn't want to, because that's where all the people who care about him live, that have watched him grow up and all that stuff. So, yep.
So where did you visit in your stay? Where else
so
did
where I
you
was
see
in-
parks or?
We went to the La Candelaria, which is like the historic, artistic, there's cafes, there's live music, there's salsa dancing, beautiful colonial architecture, churches, like the state house buildings, they're very grand. Street performers, artists selling their work on the street. One of my favorite things that I saw in La Candelaria was a man on a typewriter. And if you gave him some money, he would write a poem for you.
Oh.
I've never seen that here. That was different. And then we also went to 2 other cities, Cartagena and Santa Marta.
Did you like the other cities apart from Bogota?
Oh yeah, I really loved Cartagena. It has a lot of amazing history. It was a city that was, I guess, under siege by pirates a lot of times and fought the Spanish. So they built this wall surrounding the whole city. And you can walk up onto the wall, and there's still cannons there. And you can look out onto the port and onto the ocean. And it's several miles long, this wall still. Though I don't think the whole thing is still there. They've taken down parts of it. And then proper in the city was mostly pedestrian, with narrow alleyways and lots of like artisan ice cream shops and salsa clubs and clothing stores and bookstores, and it was very touristy. Bogota, there were some tourists, but I felt that I was probably in that neighborhood. I didn't see anybody else that was at least a Caucasian tourist. If they were Latino tourists, I wouldn't have known. But and people in the neighborhood told me, we don't think that we've ever had like a white American stay in this neighborhood before. So, but in Cartagena, I heard every language. They have huge gathering parks and places, and there were Christmas decorations and lights up, and it was very festive, up late every night, out, street food and music and street performance. So,
Okay. So Colombia is known for their rich food, rich dishes. In a holiday table is often filled with traditional dishes such as ajiaco. I don't know if I know how to say it, but it's chicken and potato soups and natilla.
yes, the natilla.
Custard dessert.
Yes.
These dishes are beloved and been part of Colombia holiday celebrations for centuries. So how is their food? How is their culture and food?
I would say being a vegetarian, I didn't really get to try many of the traditional foods.
Yeah.
Because I don't eat meat, and they have a very meat-based menu. But I did get to try a lot of the breads, like stuffed breads. Some of them have cheese and fruit inside. And what was the name? Natia?
This one it says.
The custard.
It says natia.
Yeah, natia.
Custard
That they
dessert.
made for Christmas. All different flavors. They have chocolate. They have tropical fruit flavor, maracuya, guava, guanabana, orange. Like, it has all these different flavors. And so throughout the night of Christmas, people brought over a slice, like one for me and one for my friend. So I ended up eating like 3 pieces of it. It's pretty good. I'm not a huge custard fan, but I liked it.
Okay. So you talked about festivals, and they say Colombia is famous for its festivals like the Carnival do Barranquilla and Feria do Cari. Did you have a chance to witness any of the cultural celebrations in there?
There was a pre-Christmas traditional celebration. I don't know if they do it anywhere else. I don't think they do it in Mexico or any of the other countries I've been to. It's called Las Velitas. So it's a night of candles, and what people do is they go outside with a set of 6 or 8 or 10 different colored candles, and they all represent different things. They tip the candle until there's a little pool of wax of each one, and then they stick the candle in there. And so as you walk through the blocks down the street, there's just candles everywhere in front of people's doorways. And they are sort of like beseeching Virgin Mary to bless them with good things to come in next year. So the candle might have the word love or prosperity or, career written on the candle. And so that was also an all-night thing with dancing and live music out in the street and people out socializing, drinking, having a good time. So I thought that was beautiful, seeing all those candles lighting up the street too.
Okay. Yeah. So what about the communication? Because they say Colombians speak Spanish, but there are over 60 regional dialects in the country, and Bocora Spanish is considered the clearest. Colombia's Spanish is known for being among the most natural and easily understood across Latin America.
I agree with that.
How is the
I agree with that.
speaking
My
communication?
my first country that spoke Spanish was Mexico, and I really didn't know much then. So I was very young in my teenage years. I visited Mexico, and then I went to language school in southern Mexico. So my original understanding was of the way that Mexican people speak. Then I started traveling to other places in the Spanish-speaking world, and for example, Dominican Republic. They speak so fast, and they do a lot of slang, and what they'll do is they'll take like 3 words and turn it into one. So ven para acá means come over here, but they'll say ven para acá, like it's all one word, and I just cannot figure it out.
Right.
I could not follow the Dominicans at all when they speak Spanish. I can now because I've practiced a lot more and studied a lot more and traveled a lot more, but I was so lost when I was there. And in Colombia, as long as they slow down a little bit for me, I did well. Definitely picked up a lot more than I have in other Spanish-speaking countries. And I'd heard that before too, that they speak like a very pure form of Spanish.
Do they speak English? Did you have any people?
One person.
One person. So you better be really eager to learn.
Yes, absolutely. And I can make myself understood. I'm sure it sounds broken, but people do understand what I'm saying. What's harder for me, I've always had an easy time like picking up extra vocabulary and learning new words, but processing it when it's coming at me fast, that's my weak area. So that's part of why I wanted to go and be really immersed in the Spanish for a whole month.
Okay. So Colombia is a country of great natural beauty. They say they have over 50 national parks and diverse landscapes ranging from Amazon rainforest and the Andean mountains. Colombia attracts over 4 million international visitors annually. And I know you like the nature.
Yeah, I
you
do.
like, as far as I know, you like to what is it, to meditate. Yeah, you like the nature. How was the experience about?
So I've been to Colombia twice now. Last year in February, I went and with a friend of mine. She doesn't speak any Spanish, so I was her translator. And we went to the Amazon, and we spent 5 days on the river, living with a couple who are indigenous to that region, and their tribe name is Chacuna. They taught us some words. I don't remember them now, but they have their own language, an indigenous language, and they taught us some of their traditions, and they cooked us some of the foods that they typically eat. My friend eats fish, so she got fresh fish right out of the river every day, fresh caught. And I got a lot of things like yuca and plantains and rices and other veggies that they grow over there. So we did a lot of excursions. There's like little lakes, like not exactly tributaries, but lakes that are attached to the river. I don't know what you would call that really. And in those lakes we went swimming. We were not scared of anacondas. They said they mostly stay on the shore, but they are there. And we saw 2 different types of dolphins and probably about 10 species of birds. Our guide was an expert photographer and birder, so he could find them, up in the trees for us and point them out. There's 2 species of dolphin. One is pink and one is blue, and we got to see both. While we were swimming, we could see them kind of at a distance, jumping and swimming and playing. So that was beautiful. And the house that we stayed in was under a fruit tree. So these little monkeys would come by every afternoon and sit there and eat the fruit. So it was a pretty special experience. And that village, right now the name of it, I can't remember. But almost everybody there was Chacuna and had grown up there. It wasn't touristic. He's sort of an entrepreneur who's turned his house into like guest rooms on a 2nd floor. And you climb up like a little ladder to get up there. It's kind of like a tree house. It was great. Yeah.
Okay. So did you get to meditate over there? Or you
to myself, but not
you
like
do it every
group
day?
practice or anything like that. Yeah, just sometimes just sitting on the boat and traveling down the river and watching the trees go by and the birds fly over. Your mind could kind of get in that, that quiet, relaxed pattern.
So you went to the boat and
we traveled each day on the river to different places. We went to Peru. We were very close to the border, so we just crossed over in the boat and met some Peruvian indigenous families over there, and they showed us how they make honey, their beehives, and some of the other things that they do. They had, what are they called? They have these creatures. They look like rats, but giant. What are they called? It'll come back to me. But they look like a combination of a pig and a rodent. Capybara. They had capybaras as pets. A baby and a full-size one. And I've never seen a capybara before. And they were very sweet, and they would come near you and you could pet them. And so that was an exotic animal for me. I'd never seen one before.
Okay. So in America, they don't have those
No,
pets.
we don't have capybara. I don't know what country they start in. Like maybe it's just South America. I'm not sure.
Okay.
And then this shirt, I don't know if you can see it.
Oh, looks like a lion.
It's a jaguar.
Oh, a jaguar.
Yeah,
Okay.
and that's a very important symbolic animal in indigenous belief systems over there. So a lot of the modern day muralists incorporate jaguar images into their artwork. So this is a mural that's up somewhere that was duplicated on this shirt. So,
Okay.
yeah.
So every time when you say Colombia in South America, the security, everything, it was one of the most dangerous cities not to visit.
In the 80s and 90s,
Yes,
absolutely.
back then. So how is the security? Is it safe?
as far as I could see and what I experienced, I could say yes. I didn't have any moments where I felt unsafe or threatened. I didn't have any pickpocketing or anything like that happen to me. I'm sure it does happen, like in any country, really. But I took a tour, a guided tour in English by a native Colombian who told us like the history of the conflict and then the peace accords. And they had like a peace treaty. They all sat down together with the different rebel groups. It was after Pablo Escobar was killed, and they made a treaty. And he said that since that point, and I'd have to check what year that was, I don't want to tell you wrong, that violence has dropped by 80%. So where he's getting those numbers, I can't tell you, but he said that the country has completely changed, and it's not on like the watch out tourist list anymore. If you look on the, probably it's Homeland Security now website that tells you, should you go, should you not go? It's not a high threat area anymore.
And so many people also say it's safe. Could you experience that it was safe?
I did, yeah. I felt very comfortable there. Looking different and obviously being from another culture, I had to be a little more, pay attention more. You know, my friends would, from the neighborhood would say, put your phone away, you know, don't put it in your purse, put it in your waistband, or, because that's something, there's a crime called snatching, where if you're taking pictures, someone just grabs it and runs, or they go by on a motorcycle and they'll grab it out of your hands. So that's like a non-violent, but not fun either, you know.
Okay.
So.
Okay, so let's do some comparisons between cultures.
Yeah.
They say Colombians typically place high value on relationships, with around 70% of people in urban areas participating in regular social gatherings, contrasting with the more individualistic, work-centered lifestyle common in the US. So as someone from the US with a different cultural background, how did you navigate the differences daily life, or how do you compare the lifestyle in Bogota or Colombia?
I'm used to, my apartment's very quiet. I have neighbors all around me, but I don't hear them. If I'm going up or down the stairs and there's a neighbor going up or down the stairs, I'll say hello, but I don't know anybody's name that lives around me. When I'm here by myself, nobody knocks on the door unless I'm expecting them, a food delivery or a friend that I invited. Over there, it's like an open door policy. The neighbors open their front doors. You can wander in, have a beer, sit down, have a chat. It's just a very sociable neighborhood. The kids are always out in the street playing football or painting the sidewalk or doing all kinds of little group activities. So all the neighbors know each other very well, and they're very casual about stopping by the house. You could just walk up and knock, and they'll say, you know, come in, and they'll give you a drink or a snack. And nobody ever says, you know, we just want to be quiet right now, or I don't feel like company. It's just a very open door. And so I loved it. I thought that was really fun, being so social like that and meeting so many people. But when I was tired, late into the night, like if I'm going to bed and it's 10 and someone comes to, you know, the door and they brought food and they want me to eat and they want me to get up out of bed, you know, and socialize, I got a little tired of it sometimes because I'm just not used to it. So, because yeah, friends could just come over at any time, day or night, and they don't necessarily call you, they just show up.
Oh, so they just come
They just come all the time.
But that can't happen in America.
No, that would be rude.
Why?
We're very scheduled. You know, we make plans and we stick to the plans. We set a time and we're precise about that time. Whereas Latin America, I'll be there in an hour, maybe they'll be there in 3 hours. You know, it's very much, the concept of time is way more relaxed. We're very tight about time. You know, if you're 15 minutes late to your doctor's appointment, they cancel it. So being late here is not, it's considered rude. And coming to someone's house without communicating with them and making a plan first would kind of disrupt their privacy. Like your home is kind of your private zone. only people who you've invited will come into your home. And over there, it felt much more open, much more people just going about visiting. And he didn't have a doorbell, my friend. So we were on the second floor. So people would throw pennies up to the window or yell up at us. And that's how we knew they were at the door downstairs.
Oh.
Yep.
Okay. So what about, they said over 90% of Colombians identify as Catholic. Religious celebrations like Christmas are deeply rooted in the culture, which might have influenced this experience. So what do you think about 90% are Catholic? Can you testify that? Have you seen the religious people?
My experience of Christmas was more like a giant party than anything that felt religious. But on that Velitas holiday where they had the candles and it had much more of a like a spiritual traditional mood to it. And that day, I think maybe it was on a Friday, Las Velitas, the churches all had First Communion. So you would see the little girls walking in the neighborhood with their fancy white dresses, and it was very photogenic. I took a lot of pictures that day. And so I think that whole day is kind of treated as like a tribute to the Virgin Mary Day, and so that's very Catholic. One of the neighbors that I spent the majority of my time with when I wasn't with my friend, her name was Cindy, and she is, I don't know if she's evangelical or non-denominational, but she was Christian, not Catholic. I mean, Catholics are Christian, but she was a different denomination. And Ricardo, he believes in, he's a physicist. So he believes that there are patterns in the universe and something must have put those patterns together. But beyond that, he's not a Catholic. So the people I was around weren't particularly Catholic.
Okay.
So that's like an oddity because everyone else is, I guess.
Okay. And what are the other places have you visited, other countries?
So Mexico, a number of times. As a kid, I went with my family because we lived in California and it was only a few hours away. And it was the Baja Peninsula. That's where we always went to the beach or went camping, visited little towns. Then when I was 19 or 20, I went for a month to Oaxaca, Mexico, which is southern Mexico, and I studied Spanish. And then my next trip was with my dear friend, Danya. She's from Dominican Republic, and we went and stayed with her family for about a month. I was probably 22. And since then, I mean, it just gave me the travel bug. And since those trips, I decided that I was going to try to do some on my own, because not everybody wants to take a trip at the same time, or they want to do different things, or they're not interested in that country. And so I went to Guatemala by myself. That was my first like truly solo trip, because in Mexico during language school I lived with a family, so I already had like a prearranged plan. But in Guatemala I just arranged things as I went. So I did some bike riding and I did some kayaking on Lago Atitlan. And I realized that if you pay attention to your surroundings and you read closely about where you're going and how to navigate the culture, and you have some Spanish, that I took the buses all over the country and I felt very comfortable. No one ever harassed me. I didn't have any problems like that. So that kind of was the first trip where I said, I can do this, you know, I can travel by myself. So since then I've been to Costa Rica, Panama, Chile, Argentina, Spain, Morocco, and India. I think that's it.
Oh, okay. Those are a lot of countries.
Yeah.
So which one did you like the most?
Oh gosh, that's so hard. Wow. I like them all for so many different reasons, but if I was going to recommend that someone go to one of the places where I've been, Morocco, because I found Moroccan people to be the most welcoming people I've ever met. The first day I flew in, I got on a train. I had a little language handbook. They speak Darija. It's like a form of Arabic, but it's a little bit different. So I had Darija English dictionary, and I sat next to this young woman, and I asked her questions by pointing to words in the book because I didn't know Darija. So by the end of the train ride, she was like, you must come to my house and have dinner with me. And everybody on the train, we were all eating snacks together, and they were asking me about America. And everywhere I went, that's how Moroccans were. They had good feelings towards Americans. This was in 2007, so I don't know now. Things change a lot.
I think
world politics.
I visited Morocco. It's very welcoming.
Yeah, I thought so. And they have the Atlas Mountains. They have the ancient cities. They have the coast. They have beautiful beaches. You can really see a bit of everything. And then the markets are wonderful. And the riads that you stay in have these open courtyards in the middle with like fruit trees and ponds, sometimes parrots. I just thought, I don't know, I fell in love with it. And I went to Spain after, and I loved Spain, but I would have liked to stay in Morocco longer. I went to an oasis to see how they manage the water system in the bottom of the oasis and how they grow the date palms, and I just had an amazing experience in that country, and I'd like to go back again.
Okay. So why do you decide traveling? Because here they say international travels among Americans vary significantly across different demographic. Approximately 23% of Americans have never traveled internationally, indicating that nearly a quarter of the population has not explored other countries. Do you believe that?
I do.
Yeah.
I think it really depends on how you grow up. I grew up on the coast. I grew up in California. It's extremely diverse. I had many friends from Latin America telling me my home country is like this, we did this, and I got curious.
Right.
I was like, I want to see, I want to go, I want to know about that, And then Mexico, I picked Mexico because it's close. The flight wasn't very expensive. It was just a few hours from where I lived. And then I just kind of fell in love with being in a culture that's not my own and learning to see things differently and to think differently. I remember I was exploring some ruins, and we were somehow talking about, I think it might have been about being hungry for lunch. And in America, we say, I'm hungry. But there they say, I have hunger. And I was like, what a different way of looking at it. Like, my entire persona is hungry. But I have hunger is like, it's an aspect of me that is hungry. And things like that, I really ponder those things and think, oh, they're looking at things differently, or how they're more collectivist societies in Latin America. They very stick close to big families, and they stay very close. And here we're more individualistic. I mean, we do value family, but a lot of people like myself grow up, move to another state, hundreds or thousands of miles away, and spend their life not real close to their family. So I found those things different. What else? I would say other differences. I really like how fresh the food is in most countries other than our own. We do a lot of processed and packaged foods here because they're fast and easy. But there, you have fresh fruit, you have fresh vegetables, you have the meat that's just been cut. You know where your food's coming from, and it's always fresh, and all the juices are fresh, and they make them by hand. And we just have gotten really into convenience diet here, and I think it shows because of all the fast food and high sodium, high fat, high sugar. We have a pretty obese country. I think we're 50 or 60% obese. And I didn't see that there. People walk more, they eat less, not 3 huge meals a day. They might have 1 big meal and 2 small, and different things. So.
Okay. So curious question, why did you choose to be a vegetarian? Because were you born vegetarian, or
No, I wasn't.
How did you choose to be vegetarian?
So in kindergarten, the two first friends that I made, their families were both vegetarian. So I found out about it, and I knew about it, and it wasn't a strange idea to me, because when I went to their house, that's how we ate. And I was with both those friends a lot, Suzanne and Chandra. So for years we stayed friends, and they would talk to me about it. And around 6th or 7th grade, I did a report about the environmental impact of like different types of meat. And it talked about how much water it takes to produce like a quarter pounder burger, how much land it takes to graze the cow, and how much grain it takes, and how much like rainforests have been cut down so that cows can graze. And I was just like, wow. So if I ate less meat, I could, like, my footprint on the planet would be smaller. Also, I never really liked meat. My parents said that when I was about 4, we went to a friend's house and they had a giant turkey. It was just really huge, and it was friendly. And so I was like petting it and touching it, and then Thanksgiving came, and I asked my dad, what are we having for dinner? And he said, turkey. And he said, I looked at him with like this horrified face. I said, you mean a turkey? And he was like, uh-oh. So nobody was surprised when I became vegetarian at 11 years old, and I've never looked back. It works perfect for me, and I haven't had any problems. People are very understanding, and they're willing to work with you, and there's always, you know, an alternative protein that you can have. So.
Right. Okay. Thank you for the talking and sharing your experiences. And what's the next plan for exploring the world? Where are you going next? My number one that I'd like to go to next is she's visiting, is Turkey. I've been fascinated with Turkey for about 10 years. However, my boyfriend has only traveled out of the country once. He went to Germany, and it was for a short period of time, and he really wants to see Thailand. So it'll probably be one of those two, and probably Thailand, because I want him to get a taste for international travel, see if he likes it. So okay. When?
I would say maybe in a year.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah.
Okay, thank you. I appreciate the sharing your experience and having interview with you. It was a pleasure.
Thank you. I'm happy to do it.
Thank you.
ubuzima ni urugendo rwuzuyemo imbogamizi ku buryo kenshi bigoye cyane gufata ibyemezo birebana no kubaka imibanire ikwiye, kwiyungura ubumenyi, kubona ukuri, guhura n'inshuti nshya, kubona ibyo wifuza mu buzima, kubaka ejo hazaza, gutunganya isi ikaba ahantu heza ho kuba kuri buri wese. Ibi birumvikana nk'amahurizo, ariko isi yuzuye amashuri na za kaminuza zikemura ibibazo nk'ibi ngibi. Ikibazo gikomeye cyahoze ari ukumenya izo kaminuza ndetse no guhura nazo. Iki ni ikibazo cyakemutse ubwo havukaga Resolved Corporate Limited, kompanyi nyarwanda ikorera mu Rwanda no muri Canada, igafasha abantu kwiyandikisha muri za kaminuza zo muri Canada, Leta Zunze Ubumwe za Amerika, Ubwongereza na Australia. Resolved inafasha abantu kumenya niba ingano y'amafaranga bafite yabishyurira ishuri muri ibi bihugu, kandi ikabafasha mu gushaka visa. Bitewe n'amasomo ushaka kwiga, iyo wagize amanota 70% mu cyiciro cyabanje, tugushakira ishuri ryakugabanyiriza 70% ku mafaranga y'ishuri. Abagize 85% bo bafite amahirwe yo kugabanyirizwa 70% ku mafaranga y'ishuri, ndetse hari n'amashuri ashobora kubatunga. Duhamagare kuri 07 91 22 40 cyangwa guteranya 1 236 858 2648, cyangwa ugana aho dukorera muri Tropical Plaza muri etage ya mbere ku muryango wa C27. Sura urubuga rwacu rwa interinete wa3resolved.ltd.com. Aha ni uzasanga service zose dutanga. Ushobora kandi kutwandikira kuri info@resolved.ltd.com.